Now, the last 18 months of pandemic has disrupted learning and left many children lacking in social and emotional skills that they would have just naturally been forming in the classroom. So now a range of journals is hoping to fill that gap and help children develop in an interactive way. Well, let's talk to Dr. Linda Papadopoulos and Nadim Saad, the co-authors of Happy Confident Me, Life Skills Journal. Good to see you both this morning. I mean, Linda, what is it exactly that children and young children have missed out on?
Oh God, Stephen, so much, I think, in many ways. I think that kind of interaction they had with other kids, the day-to-day routine of getting up, accomplishing sort of new developmental tasks in order to get to school, the face-to-face interaction with teachers, the kind of the age segregation that's happened that kept them away from sort of older people, the new experiences that were kind of ad hoc outside, for many kids, kind of, the physical behavioral skills that they wouldn't have had, the same kind of dexterity by not going to sporting events. So there has potentially been a lot. And I think in many ways what tends to happen when we're going through something like a pandemic, something difficult like that, it's kind of all hands on deck. We wanted to keep everyone healthy and well. So sadly, mental health often falls to the bottom. And I think this is what Nadim and I wanted to address sort of very much with the book. How do you make resilient kids so that, they have this toolbox, so the next time something that happens, that's a resource that they can go to.
Yeah, the resilience, Nadim, is an interesting point because, obviously, for some time now, there's been sort of complaints from the older generation about the sort of lack of resilience you see in young people now. I mean, is that something that we do need to address and provide children with resilience?
Well, it's true that in these difficult times, it's actually even more difficult to develop resilience. We're all quite overwhelmed, and our children feel it. So in times of pandemic, for example, we develop hormones and we go into fight or flight mode, and it removes a lot of our focus. So when we see children all over the place, it's actually not just due to them being, this lack of focus is actually a normal thing. So it's really important to teach them the skills to go back, to find their happy place, to find more centeredness. So for example, we in the book, in the Happy Confident Me Life Skills Journal, we developed the power of interoception. Interoception is actually our sixth sense. It's our sense we actually have 8 senses in case, some people don't know that, but our sixth sense is our ability to feel the sensations in our body. So hot or cold, but also feel the feelings in our body. The sooner we can develop this sense and the more we can regulate our feelings and get rid of this overwhelm. And actually these kind of things also help be more resilient. It's not just about toughness. It's also about self-awareness and realizing what's important to us, what makes us happy. And this is what we teach kids through the toolkit, through our 10 key life lessons. So interoception, optimism, mindfulness, resilience, obviously, and also learning from mistakes. We call it the power of failure. So we make it accessible for children and basically summarize decades of research on well-being and happiness and confidence to make it accessible to children.
It's interesting, Linda, that I mean, this is all about empowering, at least I think it's all about empowering children to tackle this themselves because they've not had that wider group and sort of primary socialisation going on. How important is it with this sort of help to allow children to develop this themselves?
It's hugely important. I think I should say as well, one of the things that we kind of spend a lot of time on is ensuring that the way the book is written is that they get excited enough to sort of speak to parents about it. So there's a section, obviously, that parents can follow and things they can do together. But ultimately, Stephen, the only way that we increase in confidence is to do something we didn't think we could do on our own. So this idea of kind of sort of imbuing that in them, the sense that, I felt bad about this mistake, but actually the mistake didn't define me. Or I was able to acknowledge the difference between feeling sort of sad and angry. I was able to develop that skill. These things are key because ultimately what you want to do, I think it's a thing that all parents ultimately want, to make kids self-sufficient in order to be able to cope with the challenges of the world. So, I think as Nadim points out, this is sort of based on some really kind of years of sort of very good research that was often targeted in self-help books to adults. And we tried to do is sort of distill this down. What are the core messages and how can we make them as engaging, A, for a child to learn, but B, for a child to feel exactly as you say, confident in using.
I mean, what strikes me from this, and Nadim, and the key issues that you're talking about here, it strikes me that if children do not develop this, I can't imagine where that leaves them as adults. We've all come across damaged adults at various points, and you can imagine children ending up in that position unless they develop these skills.
So true, Stephen. And actually, the reason I started developing these life skills is because my 8-year-old daughter was incredibly positive, I thought she would go through life without any challenges. And she went through a tough patch. And thankfully, as a parenting coach, I managed not to punish her and, because she was being very resistant and everything, and really had an active listening with her. And she ended up saying, I hate myself. I thought, oh my God, it's incredible how fast a child who's actually seems so positive can turn. And I also saw this with friends, particularly in the pandemic, who had mental health issues. And so it happens to everyone. So as you said, it's so important to teach these social emotional skills early on in the family, but also in schools. So we have programs with schools, and they're seeing a difference in just a few weeks of implementing these. So it's really important to we're all actually launching a petition to make sure that the government makes this a requirement in all schools in PSHE programs to have social emotional skills. And so we hope that this is going to really make a difference to the future generations.
Yeah, I sort of think everyone in the country should be sent a copy of this. I think it might help us all. Nadim and Linda, good to see you both. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.